Ma'at, Hatepu to you all. I am so pleased that you've chosen to join us for Kemetic Ascension once more. I am really honored that you've chosen to spend your Sunday with us in this manner, because we know that there are so many other things that you could do. I also understand that you are likely one of those individuals who hear the echo of an ancient voice, the voice of our African ancestors. So I am honored that you have chosen to spend time focusing on how to live, how to practice, how to work that our Kemetic ancestors, that our ancient ancestors chose to do. So thank you. I want to welcome you to Kemetic Ascension for November 8th, 2020. And as we welcome you, I really am hoping that during this era, during this time, during this pandemic year, we rarely have you in our physical midst. You will still allow us to know you are hearing us, receiving us, that you are with us for this session, Kemetic Ascension. So I'm asking if you can tell us where you are and how long you have been partaking in, how long you have been involved in, how long you have been actually part of the Shrine of Maat community through Kemetic Ascension. So please tell us where you are and tell us how long you have been part of Kemetic Ascension. We would love to be able to attest to the fact that our voice reaches beyond distant waters, that our voice actually reaches to every corner of the globe. So please tell us where you are. Do we have anyone announcing yet? Anika?
We have Sebayt B in Harlem.
Sebayt B. Ooh, she's in Harlem. Wonderful. Came home. Greetings, Sebayt B, who is one of our full members of the Shrine of Maat, and also one of the co-chairs. If you don't know Sebayt B, you will. She's one of the co-chairs of our communications committee. So, Dwa, thank you for being there.
We have Flint, Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. How's it going in Flint?
We have Tacoma, Washington on YouTube. Houston, Texas.
Woo!
South Africa. Someone who's new to the family. Welcome. California.
Wow.
Of course, we have Brother Tahuti out in Phoenix.
Wow.
We have someone from Kenya.
So this means we have people all the way on the west coast of the United States. We have Arizona and Tacoma, Washington. And we also have folks that are actually in our motherland. So you said South Africa and Kenya, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
We have Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Lexington, Kentucky. Lauderdale, Florida. Holly Springs, North Carolina.
Woo.
Montgomery, Alabama. Oh, Sebayt is still in North Carolina, but she's representing.
She's repping Harlem. She's repping Harlem.
Sadu Clico in the house.
Clico, what's up, brother? It's good to hear from you. Good to see
Brooklyn.
you.
We have Rochester. We have Queens.
Rochester. Is it cold in Rochester yet? Tell us if it's cold in Rochester yet. Because, we're in the midst of days that reached the 70s in New York City, which was really, really strange, specifically for November. Is it cold in Rochester yet? Where else did you say?
We have Sag Harbor, New York. That's Sister Anna Rodriguez.
In Sag Harbor?
We have Lincoln, Nebraska.
Anna, are you usually in Sag Harbor? I thought she's usually in Jersey these days. Let us know what's going on, if everything's good with you, Sebayt Anna.
We have Lake Wiley. Let's see, where else? London, across the pond. Wonderful. There's South Jersey.
Across the river.
Yep, Cincinnati, though, is always in the house.
Cincinnati, yes.
Casa Grande, Arizona.
Is that near Phoenix? I wonder if it's near Phoenix, if it's anywhere near Sendahuti.
Goose Creek, South Carolina.
Greensboro,
North Carolina.
Woo!
Grenada.
Go ahead. The islands are representing.
Southfield, Michigan, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow.
Virginia and the Hampton Roads area. I have family out there.
Mm.
Fort Lauderdale, Philly. Always got
Philly.
Philly.
Philly is heavy. Always heavy up in the house.
Georgia. Thank you for your votes. Savannah, Georgia, Baltimore, Maryland, Sacramento, California, Mobile, Alabama.
Mm.
Yes.
Folks from all over. Folks from all over.
Right.
All over the United States.
Kenyan from Nairobi.
Another Kenyan. Wonderful.
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
We are reaching the east coast of the motherland. Wonderful.
Miami, Florida, Carbondale, Illinois. Wow.
Lots of folks from all over the country and, in fact, other places in the world. Amazing. I think the person furthest away is likely right now the person in South Africa. We greet you where you are. I think you're the furthest person away. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we have so many people who are greeting, who are joining us from around the world. Mm-hmm. Let me say to you that you can continue to tell us where you are so that we're clear about where you are where we are reaching. But I'd also now like some of the folks to transition and identify themselves as either members of the Wenwet. By the way, Wenwet, that is the priesthood of the Shrine of Maat. So identify yourselves so that folks in the different mechanisms that we are reaching them, either on Facebook Live or on YouTube, are able to notice you, see you, and recognize that you're a resource. And in addition to that, I'd like the full members, the full initiated members of the Shrine of Maat also to make themselves known so that those who are reaching you know that we have people who are actually part of the body of the Shrine of Maat. And that we also have people who are part of the leadership of the Shrine of Maat. Mm-hmm. The body being, of course, our initiated members, and the leadership being the Wenwet. Mm-hmm. And you might also hear them use some phrases. Wenwet, obviously, is one that I've identified. You may also hear someone say they're the member of the Hemsenu. Hemsenu means 42. They are the bedrock initiates of the Shrine of Maat, the first initiates of the Shrine of Maat. And we recently greeted a wonderful group of individuals who came through into full membership of the Shrine of Maat during these troubling times. And they generally are called Rakas Seshen. That's the name of their group, which joined the Shrine of Maat earlier this year. Either way, Hemsenu or Rakas Seshen, they are saying they are full members. They are full initiated members of the Shrine of Maat. We greet you, and we are so honored that you are there. Let the folks in the room know who you are, because it can be a little bit more difficult for people to understand that we have these individuals who are close in the workings of the Shrine of Maat without seeing people in the physical room. So please go ahead and let us know.
Before I call out our membership, I also want to acknowledge we have someone from Egypt and from France. And so
Egypt
family
and France.
In the Ivory Coast and in Ghana.
Woo!
So we have Hemsenu Jehuti Mess in the house.
Jehuti Mess. Ankan Ma'at.
Hemsenu Kliko in the house.
Yes.
Rakas Seshen this year. Oye, Sinet Oye in the house.
Yes, out of Philly.
Send Cleo Ford in the house.
Wonderful. Part of Rakas Hashem.
That's right. If I miss you, y'all are scrolling past really quick, so if I miss you, just give me a shout out.
We're not necessarily going to announce everyone. I hope that you don't become offended if we don't get to announce you. It does scroll quickly, and Anika is doing 8 trillion things at the same time. Sen M, what's up, Sen N? Sem M, Ankan Ma'at, and Hetepu to you. It's wonderful that you've joined us. So these are folks who, for those of you who are still trying to figure out the Shrine of Ma'at community, recognize that these are folks that can certainly talk to you more about the community of the Shrine of Ma'at. So that is going to be important. And I guess it's a good time for me to mention now that applications for initiation are on the website, shrineofmaat.org. So if you'd like to become a full member of the Shrine of Maat, if you'd like to actually have access to this community where we support each other, we actually cry with each other, laugh with each other. A community of people who are practicing ancient Kemetic, ancient African spirituality. Make sure you go to our website at shrineofmaat.org and submit an application. Now, you should know, by the way, we just got our first initiation application, I think, this weekend. But you should know that initiation will begin sometime in the beginning of the year, likely February. And what we will be doing is reaching out to you and talking to you about whether you really will be really comfortable and a valuable asset of the Shrine of Maat, and also whether we will be a valuable home for you. So that is what we're going to be doing. Please make sure that you submit your application if that is what you choose to do. And we should say, Anika's going to beat me up for saying this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say it, there is a cost for initiation, but please, if you are unable to pay for initiation, we will never allow money to come between you becoming a full member of the Shrine of Maat. Why is Anika going to beat me up? Because clearly with the things that we are trying to do, we need resources to do it. So, but we're not going to let money prevent you from becoming part of the shrine. Anika is the task-oriented, detail-oriented person who manages our funds and knows what our deficits are. But we know that there are other resources. Even just your time and your input is also valuable as well.
So I just also wanted to acknowledge Sinet Adenike out in St. Croix, and
Wonderful.
Sinet Fafanta, and Sister Angelique Gar. We see that you are laying your mother to rest tomorrow, so we wanted to acknowledge you and your mother and say that we sorry for your loss, but she is not gone. She's still in another realm here with you. If you put her name in the chat, we'll call her name as an ancestor and acknowledge her presence. So, you know, we want to give you strength and power and recognize that she will always be here with you. Please
put her name, type her name so that we can call her, recognize her as an ancestor, and actually call for her successful journey. So please do that. I know that must be troubling. So we are with you. Both Anika and myself have gone through some of this as well, and we know how challenging it is. I'm still grieving for my dad, who passed away in May, so that is certainly something that I recognize. And while I've finally gotten to the point in these months to recognize that I'm not going to see him in physical form, I still yearn to do that, although I know that he has been reaching out to me now in many different instances. He tries to communicate, and I am only hoping that I will continue to hone my spiritual antennae so that I can speak to him as clearly as if I was sitting next to him at the kitchen table in the home I grew up in. And so that is certainly something. And I know that he's trying. I do know he's trying. And I also know that there are a few people in the world that he would reach out to other than me. It's a good thing my siblings aren't listening to this. But definitely I know that he would try to reach out to me. I know. They'd be like, what? What did he just say?
I might just send them the link.
So please, I recognize how challenging it is.
So we have a question from Brother Gaston, who wants to know what is the benefit of full membership in the shrine?
Well, being a full member of the shrine means that you have closer access to the chief priest, to the Wenwet, and of course you have more access to the community. There's a reason why Anika and I decided that we should be able to do Kemetic Ascension, because as you know, the two of us have been part of the Kemetic community for now 3 decades, right? Over 3 decades for me. It's been a long time. But I do recognize that so often people who are practicing Kemetic spirituality, practicing ancient African spirituality, practicing forms that are different than the 3 most prevalent forms today end up doing it on their own. And it's amazing when you do things on your own. But something else happens when you are part of a community, when you have people who see you, who hear you, who don't think that you're strange or kooky, who recognize what you are doing and are doing it with you. There's something different when you are truly part of a community. And so I'm hoping that that is one of the things that you will recognize. And in addition to that, there will be certainly additional meetings that you'll be part of. It means that you'll be there'll be additional training and different things that you'll also be part of. And you should also know that as a member, and this may not sound like an advantage, but it means that you'll be doing the work to actually bring the voice of our African ancestors into greater clarity. And there is something wonderful in doing the work. Sometimes it sounds like it's just something that's challenging, and it can be something challenging. But as someone who has been part of the Kemetic tradition for as long as I have, I know that doing the work has saved me and has preserved me as well, in a world that would easily drive you crazy if you let it. So I'm hoping that you'll see that as an advantage as well. Yes.
Just so you know, Angelique Gar was her mother's name, Elvira Liziette Gar.
Elvira Liziette Gar. Mm-hmm. Can I say that we are asking the Neteru and the ancestors to ensure that Angelique Liziette Gar.
That's her mother.
Yes.
That's her name. Angelique is her name.
I'm sorry, her mother's first name. Elvira Liziette Gar. Mm-hmm. That the actual body, the spirit, the person of Elvira Gar will absolutely make secure passage on the boat of Ra. We are asking you, Mama Elvira, to please recognize that you are missed, but we understand that you are not gone. That our tears are simply for ourselves. They are not truly for you. We know that you are making a divine journey, that you are sitting in the golden boat, and that you will be closer to us, that you will be stronger for us, that you will be absolutely a dynamo in the spiritual realm for us. And so we are asking for the solace of the family, not of you, Mama Elvira. We know that you are stronger than the destruction that some people believe comes with death. That in fact there is no destruction. That in fact your soul is immortal. And so we are simply asking for your successful and smooth journey. May the waters be made waveless as you glide towards Taseket Maat, the place where those who have done Ma'at dwell. And so I'm truly hoping that Sister Angelique, that you are able to find solace in knowing that your mother is not gone. And I also hope that you, like me, will be continuing to do the kind of work on your spiritual antennae so that you'll be able to be in conversation with her. I guarantee you she's trying to speak to you. It's almost like she's speaking on one channel and most of us actually inhabit just a certain set of channels. And those channels that those who have made the transition are actually communicating on are some that we don't even recognize we can flip to with our remote. That is the challenge. But when you do the spiritual work, you will have greater access to them. So we hope that you'll get into your altar today. That if you don't have one, you'll be creating an ancestral altar to your mother. That you'll speak to her. That you'll make sure that you give offering to her. And so I truly recognize how challenging this period must be for you. And you should know the Shrine of Maat is with you as well.
She said she will, and thank you.
Yes.
And we also call the name of Dawn Anderson. Key Life Productions lost her in 1992. And Janae Smith, we see.
Oh, that's brother Seckham.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, you lost your mom. I think you met. Wait. Is that his mom that he lost? That might be his grandmother, because I think he talks about going and talking to his mother's church or his mother's church family.
Okay.
We are absolutely recognizing that the person you lost, I believe that must be your grandmother, he's going to confirm that,
Okay.
is actually already there doing work with you. I am praying, I am asking more for your divine countenance than for hers. And I also am praying that she will be able to speak clearly to you, provide you wisdom and guidance as you continue to move forward.
And Janae Smith is grieving from the loss of both of her parents.
Senet, Janae, I know how difficult that must be. I just lost my father. Anika has come through losing her grandmother, her mother, and her father in close succession, actually. And we know how difficult that is. We are asking for their divine, everlasting, golden souls, their aku, to continue to move, to continue to draw sustenance, and to continue to remain in the place where ancestors dwell. Taseket Maat.
No, it wasn't his grandmother. Dawn Anderson is his first love.
Oh.
His first girlfriend who he planned to marry.
Oh boy, I did not know that.
We are so sorry to hear that.
Oh, I can imagine how difficult
But
that
we
is.
called her into the space
And I'm
today,
assuming
so she's with
also,
us.
I'm assuming also that she was a younger person as well. That perhaps everyone believed that her physical journey would have continued longer. I'm sorry about that, dear brother. And that's a solid brother who does a lot of work, who tries to speak to our community out of Philadelphia, and I really I'm feeling your loss, and I'm hoping that you have solace and that you will be able to communicate with her. So we're asking for the powerful ancestor Dawn. We're asking for her not to be upset that we haven't been able to hear her yet. Being on the physical plane and using these senses, this ability to see, to smell, to taste, to touch, to hear, it actually sometimes gives us the confusion that that is the way that the world exists. That only through those senses that we recognize the world. When in actuality, so much of the world can be experienced using other senses that we have yet to hone. And so I'm truly hoping that you will be able to be in communication with her.
And Sister Charity, who's online with us, asked us to call the name of Ruby Bullard, who is her paternal grandmother, who is now an ancestor, and gives her protection, strength, and love every day.
So that Charity, it's good to hear from you.
Yeah.
And we are calling on your grandmother as she continues to try to guide you. Grandmother, please recognize that we still feel you, that your presence has not been removed from us, that death cannot destroy you. We know that there is something that long pervades these physical husks that we believe are ourselves. And so we ask for grandmother in the ancestral realm to be given cool water and good food so that she may continue to live. So I think that one of the things that we talked about, there were so many things we were talking about before the pandemic, right? One of the things that we were talking about is what the rest of the Shrine of Maat schedule, the year, will look like. And one of those things should be a very clear celebration to ancestors. Like there should be a day that we focus on the ancestors. I think that it's something we need to discuss more, because we would have this big celebration where everyone could actually call on ancestral energy, where we'd be meditating and feeding and singing and communing with the ancestors that they may come to us. So that's one of the things that we need to do. We need to add that to our calendar. Now we know that if you have been with the Shrine of Maat for some time, you are probably using some of those levers. You are probably actually answering the call to the ancestors through some of the mechanisms that we describe, right? Hopefully you also have established an ancestral altar. It is one of the ways that you can communicate with your ancestor. Write them a letter. Write them a letter and place it on your altar. Speak speak to them. Be in dialogue with them. It is possible. I know that my father has reached out to me on several occasions. I know he has. Now, sometimes when someone makes their transition, it might take a little while for you to be able to hear them. Because I think that there's something about grief. Grief is one of those things that fills voids. And as it fills the void, you might not be able to actually have the bandwidth to hear, to receive the communication. But just imagine that that ancestor who has made their transition is more present, more powerful than they were in physical form. My father would call me on the phone and say, you know, I want to come and visit you. I'll take the train. And he was really struggling. We didn't know how sick he was at the time. And it would be difficult for him to come to visit. Well, as an ancestor, he no longer needs a Metro card. He no longer needs Accessoride. He no longer needs a journey in a car, a truck, a plane, a boat. He can be there with you immediately because the physical form is no longer his encumbrance. So recognize that the ancestors are more powerful now. We only need to hear them. We only need to speak with them. And we definitely should be feeding them. Because that which you feed is that which lives. We're going to talk a little bit about that today as well.
Another name that we will call is Zami and Nesta Thompson, whose grandmother Eric Asarian, who passed 105 last week. So
that's the priest.
Welcome her.
He's one of the members of the priesthood. He mostly doing his work over at the Temple of Anu.
Okay.
Welcome once again. We're friends on Facebook, so I know that as well. Okay. So definitely, you said he lost his grandmother. You said
yes, age 105.
When
she beat out my grandma by 1 year.
Yeah,
last week.
Last week. What was her name again?
Her name Zami and Nesta Thompson.
Zami and Nesta Thompson. We are asking for great mother, grandmother Zami to absolutely find her journey into the afterlife smooth. We ask that the winds are only in the direction towards the land of those who have celebrated, who have lived, who eat Maat. Please make this journey smooth. We know that she is on the prow of the ship as long as she has lived. We know that she is helping Ra steer. But we ask that her passage be made smooth and that the sailboat journey in the most straightforward fashion that it can. We know that you are there thinking about all of those people that you left in the physical realm because you know that's what the great mothers do. They feed, they teach, they provide wisdom and solace, and they also get up in that butt when they need to. We know that she is still trying to do this, and we know that you are with us. We ask for a verbal libation to feed you, so that you will not hunger for anything as you make the journey. And we ask that our dear brother, a member of the priesthood of the Kemetic family, actually is given solace that her amazing physical journey is now much more amazing that we recognize her ethereal, her ancestral, her spirit journey. And so I know that must be challenging for you. And I hope that you recognize that she is still here. That she has actually dispensed with her physical form, but that she is communicating.
A few shouts before I give some more messages. We have part of the Wenwet Abuka in the house.
Abuka out of Philly.
And we have Brother Yasir in the house.
Brother Yasir from Chicago.
Chi-Town.
Woo! Woo! Brother
yoga
Yashir is
master.
probably going to kick his brother in the butt because I have owed him a call for a really long time. Please do not think that my lack of communication has anything to do with how I feel about you, Brother Yasir. I talk about you more than I talk to you. He's definitely one of the people that and I can say this to my brother, that I love dearly in the tradition. And we miss you. We miss you. The COVID has prevented us from even breaking bread with Yasir. And Yasir, as grounded and as amazing a grand practitioner as he is, the thing that some of y'all don't know about Yasir Rahotep is he's also one of the funniest people that Anik and I have ever met. So it's hard not to think of him and laugh because we have shared so many laughs, both here in the United States and also abroad. So we mur you, Yasir, and your wayward brother is going to reach out to you. And I should just say, Abu Ka, a member of the Wenwet, you know Philly's up in here hard. You should know, I want to acknowledge this to everyone. I know there's a lot to announce, Anika, but I want you to know that when we talk about Philly being up in there hard, Abu Ka is number one. Abu Ka is the Shrine of Maat in Philadelphia. Please, I know he's busy. Reach out to that brother, because when you see him, you see us.
He gonna come for you.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. When you see him, you see us. He is one of the great leaders of the Shrine of Maat. He's doing incredible work, and we are looking forward to the continuation of the conversation, the story of the Shrine of Maat, really growing roots under his divine tutelage in Philadelphia.
So Gaston Bryant suggested that if we did an ancestral activity, it should probably be during the last 5 days of the year. As they used to do. And he also asked
that they call the Ipagomino days.
Yeah. He also asked that we give some love and light to his father, who's dealing with some health challenges.
We are asking for divine Seneb to visit the absolute elder, the father of Brother Antoine Gaston, who is someone who has been part of our community, whose name you will see and whenever we do anything. We ask for his father to be given the kind of relief from pain that one rarely sees on the physical realm. And we're asking for the spirit of Tehuti, the body of Tehuti, the wisdom of Tehuti to join him with Imhotep in his wings to allow your father to be made whole.
Okay, the mother of Samantha St. Louis and her grandmother Trufina Mitchell. Her mother passed away 2 years today.
Wow, we are calling their name. We are asking for their divine life to be bigger than anything that we would have experienced on the physical realm. We know that ancestors are with us. We know that they are not extinguished when their physical eyes close. And we're asking for you to know that your family on this side yearns for you on that side.
Sen M is dealing with the loss of his father from 2 years ago.
I remember when he lost his father. Oh, yeah, yeah. I remember when he lost his father. Sen M is a wonderful brother. He's someone that, he moved a bit further away from us, so we used to spend a lot of time together in physical form. He traveled to Kemet with us. He's now a full member of the Shrine of Maat. I want you to know that we are thinking about your father. I know that you are thinking about your father. We ask for a verbal plate of food of his favorite meal to be presented in front of him. And those who are on this side want to give him sustenance on that side and say thank you, dua, 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 for all that you have given us and continue to. There's a lot of shout outs today.
Yeah, I think I got through them all.
I want to say, family, that we know that so many of you are dealing with the sorrow of losing loved ones. And in this very, very strange year of 2020, very strange year, I know that we have been beset by more grieving than we usually need to bear. There have been so many of us in the Black and Latino community who have made their transition, and I know that that is so difficult. 2020 has been an amazing year and a very difficult year, even for me personally, so I really do feel it. I know that this weight that you are carrying is there. I want to say to you that when you carry a weight like that, know that the family of the Shrine of Maat is here with you. Okay? Now, I also want you to know that when you've lost someone, please reach out to the family. Just put it on our Facebook page, type it in YouTube, send us a text and email so that we can call their name. And I think that we really should make some more preparations post haste for the ancestral celebration that should come forward. I'm not sure if we do it at the end of the year. I almost think that it should be at a time when more people will be present. Because black folks don't like the cold, right? If we say we're having a celebration at that time of the year, we're not going to see a lot of y'all. So we would like to do it probably when it's warmer and we can be by the waters so that we can actually do. If you want to see some of the celebration that we've done, please look at, search for Shrine of Maat, Boat of Ra. And you'll see the celebration that we do whenever we're in Kemet. It's an ancestral celebration where we write the names and messages to our ancestors. We place them in a boat of Ra that's been handmade by myself. I'm going to say that because Anika's going to scold me not for saying it again. And we float it. Now, some of you who are really close to the boat, to the Shrine of Maat, know that there's a blooper reel that is circulating somewhere there, because one year Jabari made a boat that wasn't really that balanced. So I put it on the water and it flipped over immediately. And so I decided I was going to walk down on the side of the Hopi River, that river that has been misnomered the Nile, and I fell into the water.
Baptism.
So it's there, it's there. And it's so funny that the next year, Anika was getting off the boat when we were back in Aswan, and one of the Nubian brothers said, "Husband, splash." So obviously he was saying, "I remember your husband fell in the water last year." Anyway, that happened too. And needed to happen, so that I was there to assist, hopefully, in the journey of the boat. So
2 more names before we start.
Yes.
I would say Richard Johnson, the father of Jennifer Tidwell, and Victoria Humphrey, the sister of William Humphrey.
Wow. When is that recent? San Sehuti?
When he was 27.
Okay, but he's still thinking about her. Now listen, I want you to recognize that sometimes we actually say things about people who have recently made their journey, right? But if you actually have on your heart the absence of someone, please get up into your altar. Pray for them and to them. And so we are asking that Sen Tehuti, Sen William Humphrey, actually be made whole, that he receives divine solace for the pain of losing the physical form of the loved one, his great sister who has made her transition. But we know, great sister, that you are still here, that you see his tears and say, "Boy, why are you crying? I'm here. Speak to me. Feed me." And so we are asking for you to come into his area, to come into his home, to come into his mind, to come into his circumference today and communicate with him. Let him know that you hear him and that you are no longer encumbered, that you are no longer prevented from being anywhere by a physical form, that you can be there, and that the fact that he calls her name means that she continues to exist. Is that not our way? That is our way. And so we know that you are there. We thank you for continuing to assist your brother from the other side. And we call your name that you may hunger for nothing in the ancestral realm.
Jerome Valentine and Kenneth Asanison.
Those are 2 other names that need to be called. We are asking for Sen Jerome and Sen Kenneth to actually make a successful journey into the afterlife, to actually maintain themselves as golden beings, so that their souls may shine brighter than others, so that their journey on the boat of Ra be made smoother than others. We ask for the wind in the sails to propel them in the most straightforward manner. And we ask that Ra recognize that they are members of our family that have been missed. We ask that they communicate to their relatives and let them know that they are still here. That death, in fact, cannot destroy them. That when the coffin closes, the world that is larger than the physical world opens. And we also ask that this verbal libation allow you to gain sustenance, to receive cool water, to have tasty meal, so that we are able to feed you on that side as you continue to do work for us on this side. We know that the divine ancestors, that the Neteru, have made their way already. Dwan Tur, Dwan Tur, Dwan Tur. I did not expect that we would start Kemetic Ascension this way, but I want you to know that we need to prepare. We're going to do something for the ancestors. In fact, you know what? We're not even going to let the pandemic prevent us from doing it. I'm going to talk with the WinWet about when we should try to schedule that next year. And if it needs to be primarily virtual, it will be primarily virtual. I would love for it to be a time that you could bring items that represent these ancestors, and that we could make a grand communal altar somewhere and actually do it the way that we do it. So listen for more about that as well.
George Dean, Inez Howard, Oretha Ben, Tim Reed. I think that's everyone.
George Reed. Inez, George Dean, George Dean, Inez Howard, and
no, Oretha Ben and Tim
Oretha
Reed.
Ben and
Tim Reed.
Tim Reed. We are asking for you to hear us as we call your name and know that we remember you. We are putting your legacy back together so that you may live into eternity. We know that your golden souls are still with us, and we provide you verbal libation so that you may receive divine sustenance. Now let me say to you that one of the things, if I can say something loving but still critical of the Kemetic community, is that sometimes when we leave the Christian tradition, the Islamic tradition, we actually think that prayer is theirs. And I have found as someone who has been part of several Kemetic communities, and now at the head of our own Kemetic community, that we probably don't pray enough. Why are we giving that to them? The first prayers ever written are in our tradition. Long before anyone ever said the name Moses, Yahweh, Jesus, Muhammad, before those names were even in existence, we were praying and giving solace to people and sustenance to ancestors. So please remember that you should pray. Let's not give that to people who are the youngest people on the planet. We taught them how to do it. How are we gonna forget that now? So speak the name of the ancestors. In fact, understand that libation is a form of prayer. So,
Bobby Sturdivant, Roberta McKinney,
Bobby Sturdivant, Roberta McKinney,
Michael Wiley, Malik Farmer, and Jehuti Mester's older sister, Ayana Bryan.
Yes, someone who I knew, Sanette Ayana. Please, we are asking that these ancestors are made comfortable and powerful in the mansion that Asar has built for us. We are asking that their divine souls actually are in good stead. And once more, we are asking that our verbal sustenance allows them to remain fed. And so I say, Tuan Tur, Tuan Tur, Tuan Tur. Thank you to the divine. Let's do the opening of the way. Can we do this?
Yes, we should.
You know that whenever we gather and we begin, we usually begin with the opening of the way. And feel free that as we do the opening of the way, you actually envision those ancestors. Now keep in mind that the opening of the way is that ceremony that reminds you of how powerful you are, that you are in fact an entity imbued with divine light. But it also comes directly from those things that some people who are extremely literal would have been thinking of as mortuary practices, right? Because the Kemetic people were some of the first people to write their understanding of death not being an ending. And so as you do this, this is a good time for you to also think about those people who actually have made their transition. I would say those people who actually are waiting for you to call their names. You have not lost them. They are still here, but you need to develop the ability to communicate with them easily. So, please stand in a position of adoration. Stand with your left foot forward. Please put your hands, expose them as you are giving divine energy and receiving divine energy. The left hand is going to be a bit further forward and perhaps a bit higher. The right hand is going to be a bit further back and perhaps a bit lower. By the way, don't do this, okay? Make sure that you have, if the hand is bent, it is only bent just a little bit. Okay? Because this is how our ancestors showed that you can create a divine circuit of sacred energy. You are going to give and receive energy. And so please stand in the position of adoration as we do that ritual that marks the lineage of our shrine, the opening of the way. You're going to take a deep breath and try to take it from the abdomen, and then we are going to chant the word of everlasting life, of sacred life, Ankh. So let us do this now.
Anetrak in Bet-Het.
Anetrak in Bet-Het.
Nuke in Bet-Het.
Nuke in Bet-Het. Anetrak Hapi.
Anetrak Hapi.
Nuke Hapi.
Nuke Hapi.
Twa Winter. Turn to the right.
Anetrak Serket.
Anetrak Serket.
Nuke Serket.
Nuke Serket. Anetrak Kebsenuf.
Anetrak Kebsenuf.
Nuke Kebsenuf.
Nuke Kebsenuf.
Twa Winter.
Twa Winter.
Turn to the right.
Anetrak Ast.
Anetrak Ast.
Nuke Ast.
Nuke Ast. Anetrak Amset.
Anetrak Amset.
Nuke Amset.
Nuke Amset.
Twa Winter.
Twa Winter. Anetrak Neat.
Anetrak Neat.
Nuke Neat.
Nuke Neat. Anetrak Dwamutef.
Anetrak Dwamutef.
Nuke Dwamutef.
Nuke Dwamutef.
Twa Winter.
Twa Winter. Anetrak Newt.
Anetrak Newt.
Nuke Newt.
Nuke Newt. Anetrak Geb.
Anetrak Geb.
Nuke Geb.
Nuke Geb.
Twa Winter. Anetrak Shu.
Anetrak Shu.
Shu. Shu. Shu. Shu. Nuke Shu.
Anetrak Tefnut.
Anetrak Tefnut. 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 Nuke Tefnut. Twa Winter.
Anetrak
Pauts in Teru. Nuke Pauts in Teru. Anetrak and Boo in Teru. Nuke and Boo in Teru. Twa Winter. Twa Winter. Dwa, dwa, dwa. Dwa, dwa, dwa. I hope that you are doing the opening of the way with us, because it is the ceremony that not only marks the lineage of the Shrine of Maat, coming out of the Shrine of Ptah, being put together by our elder, Baba Heru Ankh Ra Samad Se Ptah, the keeper of the Shrine of Ptah, the individual who, in many ways, raised us spiritually in the Shrine of Ptah. But it also is the ritual that reminds us just how powerful we are. That reminds us that we are individuals that are built from divine stuff. That we actually are more powerful than we can ever actually recognize. And that all of those challenges that are before us, all of those things that trouble us, all of those things that actually cause us to shed tears are actually smaller than us. That in fact, we are beings of infinite light and ability. That we actually are more powerful than we know. And so I hope that you are doing the opening of the way. We always say here at the Shrine of Maat that you should do the opening of the way before you do anything important. And certainly each day you draw breath is of infinite importance. So I'm hoping that you are doing the opening of the way and that you're not just eating some cereal and watching us do it on the camera. Do it with us. And for those of you who are saying, well, Jabari, how can I learn how to do that? First of all, recognize that one of the benefits of this being done on Facebook or on YouTube is that it is being recorded. So you can go back and look at what we've done. You can also go to YouTube and search Opening of the Way, and you'll see Anika and I doing the Opening of the Way on our television show, Kemetic Legacy Today. And you can also look back on the Facebook page and see some of the words in writing. But if you look at it, you will learn it. You should learn the Opening of the Way. Don't people in other traditions have their rituals? Where are your rituals? Don't people in other traditions do things that actually speak to their tradition? Where are your things, your practices, your procedures, your ceremonies, your rituals that remind you who you are and what you do? Hopefully the opening of the way will be one of those things that you continue to do. So, before we continue, we usually actually do what we call Hessie. Hessie should be in many ways song, affirmation. This is the way that Kemetic people thousands of years ago got it in. This is how they actually sang and used words and harmony to allow them to draw divine energy. It was called Hessie. And so today, I think we want to do oldie but goodie, right, Anika? Mm-hmm. It is generally the Hessie that comes out of the Shrine of Ptah. It should be absolutely clear that it does when you actually hear the way that it is rendered. It usually is the one that recognizes the divine trinity that has Ptah as one of its heads. It's Ptah Sebayt Imhotep, Ptah Sebayt Nefer Atum. And so you should know that Ptah is often seen as the husband, the consort of Sebayt, and that their child is usually described as either Imhotep or Nefer Atum. And so I want you to recognize that in many ways we are talking about a divine sacred trinity that long predates the Trinity, the only trinities that exist. This one long predates that. But it also calls for powerful creation. Because we're talking about Sebayt, she who was powerful, she who was fiery, and Ptah, that divine entity that is creative. And so I'm hoping that you recognize that even one of the ways you can write the name Ptah is Pet. Ta. Eh. Pet. Some of you will know what I'm doing and some of you don't. It's okay. Keep along. Figure it out eventually. Pet. Ta. He. Pet. Ta. He. And so Ptah is that one that creates. That one that is the stuff of the universe. That one that is of the heavens, of the earth, and is eternal. That's what Ptah can be described as. Sometimes I like to say Ptah is the path that we must take. So, recognize that you are saying Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep. Imhotep obviously being that physical and still divine ancestor who actually, I haven't moved that in a while, it was stuck to the piece, who actually is a symbol of great wisdom, a symbol of writing, a symbol of healing. And I know that so many of you are actually thinking about divine healing today. And then, of course, we have Neferatum, who could also be considered the one of perfect creation as well, Nefer-Atum. Anyway, here is the chant. I want to give you the backdrop to the chant, right? And I'm hoping that you're taking some of these in your toolbox, into your spiritual arsenal. You are using them. So, let's begin. It usually sounds something like this. Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum, 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 Ptah Neferatum, Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum, Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum, Ptah Sekhmet, Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum, 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 Ptah Sekhmet, Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum, Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum, Ptah Sekhmet Imhotep, Ptah Sekhmet Neferatum. So, I'm hoping that you are using these, Hessie. When would you need divine creation, powerful creation? The ability to both take down and rebuild. In some ways, isn't that how you should see Sekhmet and Ptah? Because Sekhmet was the one that went forward to actually destroy that which was decadent, and Ptah is seen as creative. And so I'm hoping that you are using these Hessies for your sustenance. And I'm going to say that clearly when we talk about these Hessies, you should also recognize that in many ways, because it's just Anika and I here, we have stripped them down, right? There's not a lot of drums. There's not a lot of shekere. That can be a little difficult. So I'm really hoping that you understand that you don't need a lot of people to do Hessie. Hopefully you will have a Hessie in your heart and you will use it. When I'm going to speak publicly, I do Hessie. When I'm walking down the street by myself, I do Hessie. When I'm in the shower, I do Hessie. When I'm actually thinking about creating something, writing something, developing things for a course, for a class, I do Hessie. So I'm hoping that you will also draw this into your spiritual arsenal and use it for your great work. So when you're doing your great work, hopefully your Hessie will help you. Okay. So today I would like to talk briefly. I know somewhere somebody in the shrine is laughing because Jamari struggles to speak briefly. But I want to talk to you about this section of Kemetic Ascension that we call a word, the wisdom or a word from the Sebayt. And if you are a regular member, partaker of Kemetic Ascension, participant in Kemetic Ascension, cog in the wheel that is Kemetic Ascension, then you probably already remember that Sebayt is the description of divine wisdom literature that comes out of ancient Kemet. In fact, it is in fact the world's oldest literature, older than all the other texts that you might be familiar with. The wisdom of the Sebayt is the first literature. And so today I want to actually talk to you a bit about one of those texts that I find is replete with wisdom. That is one of those texts that is absolutely amazing. It is called the Instructions of Any. The Instructions of Any. And usually Any today in English is spelled A-N-Y. But recognize that we are doing nothing more than trying to replicate the language of the Kemetic people in English. So A-N-Y could have been spelled in a number of different ways. Okay, don't get hooked up on how it's spelled. Just understand that this is a text that you need to read. Because when you read these texts, it will give you divine wisdom that you can use in your life. Recognize that through Sebayt literature, you are going to find that our ancestors gave you some of the tools that you can use in the modern day to move forward. And so I'm truly hoping that you are reading from it. Don't just wait for other people to tell you what you actually wrote and said. Many of these texts are now actually in writing, in English, so that you will be able to actually read from it and draw sustenance from it. And I'm hoping that you will do it. And I'm going to say to you, do we not need wisdom today? I mean, think about how challenging 2020 has been. Think about how challenging 2020 has been. I know that we are now at the point where we have had a very tumultuous presidential campaign. If you have followed me, my position on this has been clear. Perhaps even more, well, maybe not more, but perhaps as much as I study ancient history, I study politics. And so I certainly am not going to shed any tears that Donald J. Trump is no longer in the White House. But I do want to want to say to you that this has been a troubling period, and that black folks all over the country have actually gone out to make their voices heard. And so this entire presidential election has turned on black votes. The entire presidential election. Didn't you see how Pennsylvania is what put Joe Biden over? Pennsylvania was really run up by Philadelphia. And didn't you see that Georgia was one of the states we were talking about extensively? Of course, Georgia was being run by those two counties that straddle, and the other counties that straddle Atlanta. And so, because I know people in Atlanta, everyone I know that lives in Atlanta doesn't live in Atlanta. They live outside of Atlanta. But know that whole area where there were so many votes from people like us, we actually selected the president. We elected the president. This is one pastor that I saw on television actually said that we have gone from picking cotton to picking presidents. And so I want you to recognize that it was our work that did that. Now, let me be absolutely clear. Now that we've done it, we need to make sure we get what we're supposed to get out of it. Does that make sense? The work doesn't end at pulling a lever or checking a box. And I'm hoping that you see it that way. Regardless of who's in the White House, regardless of who's there, if they're asking for our support, we should actually get additional respect, additional resources, additional focus because of it. And so I'm hoping that that's how you've seen it. But I will say to you that as we look at a troubling period, and a period that has been extremely difficult for people of African descent, what better act can there be than to draw ancient wisdom? wisdom from individuals who experienced their own trials and tribulations and sought to distill some of the thinking around how you could move forward. This was really, really powerful. I'm hoping that you are able to benefit from it. So today, there's the instructions of Annie. Something you want to say?
Just want to acknowledge more when that are in.
Oh, wonderful.
We have Abu Zephaniah, Abut Waseret, and Abu
Wonderful.
Seshat.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Mm-hmm. And Abu Zephaniah is also known as Abu Tehuti.
Yes.
So it's wonderful that Abu Seshat is there. And also Abut Waseret.
And I wanted to acknowledge Rich Dublin for his donation and Dion Lives for their donation to the shrine.
Dua, thank you so much. Your donations certainly are being put to work, and I really want to thank you for your donations. We don't do this for money. Abu Vernon did this, but we need money to do it. It costs a considerable amount for us to put together Ascension and to make it be close to what we envision. Trust me, there's so much more that we envision, and we thank you for supporting the Shrine of Maat. So, without further ado, let's pull some of the divine wisdom from this book known as the Instructions of Annie. Now, first of all, you should know that Annie is considered a scribe in the palace of Queen Nefertari. That's who it is believed Annie was, which means that he probably came from either the 19th dynasty, or there's some people who believe that he might have actually been a little older. He might have actually also been in the 18th dynasty. But he actually is a person who was thinking about the things that plague humanity, and he is doing this during the height of Kemetic power in the New Kingdom, in either the 18th or 19th dynasty. The papyri that have been found today are fragments, but they seem to come from a period in either the 22nd or 23rd dynasty. And so that is because what would happen is scribes would continue to rewrite books. Remember, they didn't have email, or they didn't have copy machines or fax machines. They couldn't text you the wisdom. They had to continue to write it. So the copies that are available are copies that are probably literally hundreds of years later than what we believe the original text was. And the main section of it is today called the Papyrus Bulaq IV. The Papyrus Bulaq IV. And it is in the Cairo Museum in modern day. If you want to know where this text comes from today, look for descriptions of Papyrus Bulaq IV. Now I'm going to say to you that this wonderful text, I think that there's so much wisdom in it, is very interesting because it actually seems to have been written in a similar form of the wisdom literature, where there's an old man giving wisdom to a young man. But the thing I find very interesting here is, in this particular one, the young man responds. And usually when the young man responds to the wisdom that is given to him by the aged, guess what he does? He's like, I'm not impressed. It don't mean nothing to me. And then the older man once again comes back and explains to him to know it. So it's almost written in a dialogue, in a dialectical manner. And I think that makes it really, really interesting. If you want to read a good English translation, I think it's in the book. It's definitely in AEL. You know that we've talked about AEL.
What is that?
AEL is the text or group that we call ancient Egyptian literature. It's usually issued in 3 texts, but I actually recently have acquired one that's all in one book. And it's actually edited by a scholar that's no longer alive named Miriam Lichtam. So you should get it. It is so common for people who are studying ancient Kemet to call it ancient Egyptian literature anymore. They just call it AEL for its abbreviation, because it is so it's a great compendium of things that were written in ancient Kemet. So you'll find it there. You'll also find it in a more flowery translation in a book by Christian Jacques, Jacq, Christian Jacques. And he writes, I think his book is called The Wisdom of Ancient Egypt. And so you'll see, I think, a more flowery description, which I like the more flowery ones, because it's spiritual literature, but sometimes the translations can be very literal and kind of flat. So the translation he has is a little better, and it's actually in Wisdom of Ancient Egypt. By the way, Wisdom of Ancient Egypt, I think, is out of print. And often AEL goes out of print. So this is one of those books for people who are studying with me. I always tell them this is a book to stock, right? Don't necessarily go out and buy the $150 version. Keep your eye on it. Set alerts for it so that when it goes below maybe $30 or $40, you pick it up. Okay? That's the best way to do it. And of course, if you were studying with the Shrine of Maat, we would give you likely, sometimes we have digital versions of it that we would give you as well. So, this is coming from the instruction of Eni. And what I think you'll find interesting is that he speaks about a wide range of things that easily are things that we address today. Easily. None of these are things that are so static that they only should be discussed in the new kingdom of ancient Kemet. All of them are directly related to the things that we can actually see as things that challenge us today. So, look at this first one I'm going to bring to you. I'm going to bring a few of them, but I'm hoping you're going to read the full text. This one is about overindulging in alcohol. I think it's Sunday. I always used to say that one of the reasons why church was crowded on Sundays because Saturday night preceded it. People did some things on Saturday, said, "Oh, goodness, I need to get saved." So often Friday and Saturday, people might actually take a look at how he describes this. He says, don't indulge in drinking beer, speech, and don't know what you're saying. If you fall and hurt your body, no one holds out a hand to you. Your companions in the drinking stand up saying, "Out with the drunk." If one comes to see you and talk with you, one finds you lying on the ground as if you were a little child. This is amazing, right? I know that we think of the Kemetic people as these amazing dynamos who were able to build massive structures and actually had some wisdom that we actually are not doing an amazing job at understanding even today. But can you imagine he's talking about the problem of drinking or imbibing too much? Very interesting. It's a very sound bit of wisdom, right? I think it's so interesting that he even says, if you drink too much, you're going to say something you regret. And you'll be falling all over the place. And even your friends are going to say, get rid of him. They're drinking too, but you've gone too far. Get rid of him. Very, very interesting. And I love how when someone comes to talk to you, you're going to be lying on the little child. Don't overindulge in alcohol.
There's a question. Which volume is this located?
Which volume?
Of
AEL?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably in the second volume. In the second volume. Yeah. Because the second volume has the wisdom from the New Kingdom. So take a look at the volume. Listen, I'm asking because you just want to buy one of them. Buy all three. It is usually in 3 volumes. Get 1, 2, and 3. Maybe you might need to stock one of them, but don't, if you get one of them and you're waiting for the others, don't forget to get the others too. And you might also, like I said, the one that is in 1 volume as well, which is pretty good too. Let's move. Let's look at one of the other ones. Listen to this one. Be careful using your words. Do not reveal your heart to a stranger. He might use your words against you. The noxious speech that came from your mouth, he repeats it to make enemies. A man may be ruined by his tongue. Beware, and you will do well. A man may be ruined by his tongue. How many times have you said things that you regret? How many times have recognize that you said some things amongst people not to say. Or that you recognize that the folks that you confided in obviously were not worth your trust. Well, our side is actually saying to us, make sure that when you are talking about the things that are on your mind, reveal it to someone who you can truly trust. Don't just say it to a stranger. By the way, this one rings truer in 2020. Why? What am I going to say? How many of y'all are absolutely showing your britches? I'm going to say that nicely so I don't say some foul words in comedic ascension. Showing your britches on social media. Nobody sees what you're writing. How many people's careers and livelihoods have been undone by an tweet? How many? Aren't you doing this? Revealing your heart to a stranger? You think about what you say before you say it in public. I know a lot of people who have been saying some real foolishness on social media. Social media is an amazing thing. How can I speak ill of social media when I'm probably talking to you through social media right now? But I'm going to say to you that because everyone has a voice, there's some really, really ridiculous things that are said on it. Please be cautious about imbibing on social media. If someone says something, double check their sources. I cannot tell you how often I see friends, family members, people who I respect buy into some really ridiculous things that they saw online. It is the bane of my existence. It is the problem in my life. I'm going to tell you that Jabari usually stays up pretty late, right? And so when I wake up, I look over, Anika is like already awake. And Anika is much better than I am to interacting on social media. If you know me, you know this already, right? And usually when I wake up, one of the first things she does is she does this. Look. What is she showing me? She's usually showing me something that someone who is close to me has said. And I'm like, oh my foolishness. Could y'all please stop saying stupid stuff on social media? Please give it some thought first. Do some analysis, do some reading. Don't just read everything and believe everything you see written there. I can write whatever I want on social media. It isn't until recently that they've begun to say, well, this one doesn't have any facts behind it. Just recently. And y'all have gone down the road. Many of you. By the way, some of you are listening to me right now. I'm actually talking to you. I'm talking to some of you without calling your names. Please be careful. Do your research. Just because you saw it on Facebook, just because you heard it on YouTube, do your own research. Some of what you have seen is ridiculous. You know what? Because people know that we actually look at the world like look at reality TV, the bossier, the more interesting us, they are manipulating us through it. Do you know that there are foreign intelligence agencies that are attacking the United States? And guess how they attack it? Through Black and Latino people. A major part of their work is to move Black and Latino people into foolishness. They want to make our entire community filled with what we call UIs, useful idiots. Russia is among them. During the 2016 election, Russia created fake black people online that would say things that sound like it was woke and revolutionary, and then every now and then they would say something that was absolutely stupid. Absolutely stupid. Why? Because if you agreed with them on the other thing, they assume you agree with them on this. It was one of their strategies. Please understand that is what happened. By the way, a few of those groups I was part of. There was one called Nefertiti's Palace, created by Russian intelligence to confuse us. All kinds of things I thought were wonderful, and then would stick some stupidness in there. Please, just be careful with what you're looking at. And while you're looking at it, don't repost that stuff. Make sure that what you're reposting makes sense, because what you're doing is you're revealing your heart to a stranger. You had better understand that people you don't know are judging you based on the stupidity that you have gotten yourself involved in. I can't tell you how much I'm dealing with it these days, and I'm dealing with it even more because I'm struggling with telling people they need to keep themselves safe during this pandemic. This has been very difficult. Because I live in New York City, and the pandemic had its initial peak in New York City, because I had a father who was ill and I was being very cautious around him, because I live in Harlem, I saw how serious this was for us. And because I've studied history and I've studied our community, I knew it was going to be difficult. But you know, even today I'm still arguing with people about whether the coronavirus exists. Sometimes I say to them, I had the coronavirus. They go, no, you didn't. How are you going to tell me about what I had? Please be careful with what you are imbibing. And don't repulse that foolishness, please. There are so many people in our community that have not earned the ability to speak before us. Did you hear what I said? They have not actually earned the ability to speak before us. Some of them are young people that are saying stupid things. And you know what? When I was their age, I said stupid things too. But I didn't have a platform of tens of thousands of people. I had some elders that said, boy, what? That don't make no sense. But now that they're saying it in public, guess what else happens? Now they have to reinforce and explain why what they said was stupid is actually accurate. That's different. We've not been in this time before. Be careful. Let's go to the next one. This one is on throwing shade, getting involved with gossip. Listen to this one. Do not enter the house of anyone until he admits you and greets you. Do not snoop around in his house. Let your eye observe in silence. Do not speak of him to another outside who was not with you, a great deadly crime. Don't be going out here and gossiping about stuff that you saw, about someone who greeted you in. And don't definitely go into the house unless he admits you and greets you. Stop talking about people so much. In the Kemetic tradition, we say, when you're speaking about people like this, we say you're speaking over much. Stop speaking over much about people. Stuff you don't know. And definitely don't learn things about them and then just share it with everyone. He said this is a great, deadly crime. If this isn't wisdom for 2020, I don't know what wisdom is. Let's go to the next one. This one I think is powerful. This is on honoring our mothers. On honoring our mothers. Listen to this one. Double the food your mother gave you. Support her as she supported you. She had a heavy load in you, but she did not abandon you. When you were born after your months, she was not yet yoked to you. I love that one. She saw this baby. She wasn't connected to you. She could have just said, who baby this? She wasn't yet yoked to you. As soon as you were born, she didn't even know your personality. But she still took care of you. She was not yet yoked to you and she still did it. Very interesting. Let's continue. Her breast in your mouth for 3 years. This also tells us how long people were breastfeeding in Kemet, by the way. Her breast in your mouth for 3 years. As you grew and your excrement disgusted, she was not disgusted, saying, what shall I do? I love that one. I love that one. As you grew up and you became a little funky, as she had to clean your behind, she didn't say, I'm not going to do it. She cared for you. She didn't say, what should I do? This is fun. She took care of you. You couldn't take care of yourself. I love that one. Very practical, very straightforward. You to school and you were taught to write, she kept watch over you daily with bread and beer in her house. By the way, some of you were saying, what, your mama gave you beer? You should understand that in ancient Kemet, there were several different types of beer, and one of them had very little alcohol content. It was more like it was almost like an oatmeal kind of thing, and it gave sustenance to children. So there were different types of beer. Please don't say, I just gave my children some rum to make their little behinds go to sleep, and the Kemetic tradition said, your mother gave you beer. It's not. Okay? Please take it from Jabari, the historian and the priest, that's not what. But what I'm saying here is, care for your mother because of what she has done for you. You didn't deserve it. She didn't even know you. You couldn't even speak. And she took care of you, taking care of you for 3 months. I know that just this week, my mother is struggling with the loss of her husband of 51 years. And because she's older, obviously, myself and my siblings, we actually don't want her outside that much during the pandemic. And so she went to get food, right? Now she's struggling a little bit more. She's depressed. So I was going to send her food with Amazon Prime. Okay, so I was paying for it, but it was easy, right? It was easy. I'm just sending her food. Amazon Prime didn't want to send her the food. They instead sent it to me in Harlem, so I had to get the food in Harlem and take it to her in Queens. I thought, this is a hassle. But imagine the hassle that your mother had in you. Imagine the hassle that she had in you. She didn't leave you strewn with filth. When it smelled bad, when it disgusted, she took care of you. She cleaned you. Double the food your mother gave. Support her as she supported you. This is a powerful, and it speaks once again to the manner in which women were viewed in very high status. No matter how powerful you are, you must continue to give to your mother. And I think that this is beautiful. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful piece, and it's something that we ought to remember. I think it's beautiful. Let's. This one. Look at this crowded subway train in New York City. Crowded subway train. It says, do not sit down when there is a person standing who is older than you or whose rank is higher than yours. You must continue to give to those elders around you, or people who, and I want to be clear when he says rank, really what he's trying to say is there are people who are doing work. Honor them and the work that they are doing. That's really what he's saying here. Do not sit down when there is a person standing who is older than you or whose rank is higher than yours. I know that I have been sitting on the subway train. Now, this is so funny because obviously this is not a 2020 image, is it? I remember being on trains like this every day. In fact, it might be where I got the coronavirus in early March. So they don't look like this right now. But I know that there'd be many times I'd be sitting there and I would see someone that looked like my mother. I would see even a younger woman than me who was pregnant. I never would allow sisters to stand. I would always give them my seat. Because I would hope that someone would do that for my sister. Someone would do that for my wife. Someone would do that for my mother. So please make sure that you are doing that kind of thing. And if there is an elder, give them a seat. Very important. And it sounds like something that you would see. How about this one? This is what we were talking about earlier. That you should continue to feed the ancestors. You should continue to give to the ancestors because this is how we continue to draw sustenance ourselves. That this is perhaps one of the most important things that you will do. Pour out the water of libation for your mother, for your father and mother who rest in the valley of death. The Neteru will bear witness to this just act. Pour out libation. What is a libation? I know that we think, those of people who are in the conscious community might think a libation is just when you pour out water and say someone's name. But in fact, what are you doing? You are feeding the ancestors. You are recognizing their journey. You are celebrating Africa. Well, wait a minute. Water of libation for your father and mother who rest in the valley of death. The Neteru will bear witness to this just act. In other words, divine entities recognize that you are supporting and recognize the good work of those who have come before you. This is of critical importance. I spent a large portion of time in the beginning of Comedic Ascension doing this, because it is good to recognize the ancestors. It is what Africans do. It is what Africans do. But here's the other thing about this that I think is really funny. When Africans pour libation, they don't just pour libation to those people who are directly in their lineage. People sometimes challenge me. They say, well, you know, you're in the Kemetic tradition. You're in the Kemetic tradition. Why aren't you in the lineage of people in West Africa? Because your people come from West Africa. I want you to also understand that there are many similarities in Kemetic spirituality. And many West African traditions say they have their origin in Kemet. And in addition to that, I'm not being so literal that I have to actually do a DNA test or look for family history to decide what my spiritual form will be. That's a literalness that is only found in the Abrahamic traditions amongst the youngest people on the planet.
Baba Heru is in the house.
Uncle Maat. Uncle Maat, we are giving divine myrrh and sustenance to Baba Heru. Dua, dua, dua for entering Baba, the elder of the shrine of Maat. Our spiritual father, the person who reared us in the Kemetic tradition, is honored. We are honored that he's peeked his nose in. He likes to peek in, and he probably wanted to peek in. But Anika will never let him do that, and Jabari will never let him do that. Dua Baba, we actually owe you a visit. We haven't seen you in a little bit, so it's time for us to come and visit you. And for the rest of you, I shouldn't have said that we're going to come visit you. Listen, a lot of y'all people with your possible coronavirus cells going on with Baba. This is a time for you to speak to him on social media, to patron his business, because we have to make sure that we are supporting those who supported us. Remember the one about the give to your mother? Well, I know not my mother, but he is my spiritual father. Remember this one? Double the food your mother gave you. Support her as she supported you. I hope that you are able to take the essence of that as well. I have gotten so through the, I can't tell you. I can't even tell you. And I'm not just talking about him talking about the tradition and actually trying to rear me the right way in the tradition. I'm talking about when Jabari is in a difficult situation, one of the people who appears is Baba Heru. So that in many ways, this is about him as well. Support, double the food that your mother gave you. This could say, support your father who reared you in the tradition. That's another way to look at this one. So you all should also be supporting Baba Heru. Go to his website, Sopatah, SOPTAH.com, and support him. So that he, in his giving to our community in all these years, has nothing to want for. I really hope that you do that. And by the way, you don't just have to buy something. Give him a donation, okay? Just send him some money, okay? Just send him some money. Donation is amazing, but it also means he still has to do work. Just send him some money, all right? That's what I want you to do. Say thank you and send him money. Baba, can you please put in your Cash App there? Please to give Baba Heru's Cash App as well, so that we're able to support in that way as well. Okay. And of course, I love this image. Does anyone know where this image is from? Where is this image from? Clearly it comes from our Kemetic tradition. By the way, if anyone says Kemet, you know that's not what Jabari's asking. Tell me exactly what this image is. And why does it relate to waiting for your answers, students of the Kemetic tradition? I'm waiting for your answers, Ramech. I'm waiting for your answers, Kemetiyu. Where are your answers? What exactly is this image? What is the picture of? Do we have any responses?
Yes, Jehuti Mes said the Met.
Jehuti Mes says the Met, the Metropolitan Museum. Mm-hmm. Why does he say the Metropolitan Museum?
It says the spiritual door.
It's a spiritual door. Mm-hmm. Why did he say the Metropolitan Museum? because he knows that if you're not really sure, Jabari is probably mentioning the Met. The Met is the place that has all the Kemetic artifacts and is just a little way away from here. By the way, we're due for a visit, Anika, because we haven't been there in about a month. And we can't do tours there yet, but we just love walking around and communing with the pieces that our ancestors have here. It in some ways is ironic and unfortunate that these Europeans took these pieces from its original place, but you better at least benefit from it where you are. So, but
It says the Temple of Honor.
Temple of who? Honor? I don't know Honor, but this is not the Temple of Honor. No answers? No other answers?
Yeah, just people are saying it's a spirit door. That's all.
I'm glad they're saying a spirit door. Did anybody say false door?
No.
Good. Why am I saying that? Because the Europeans, who are very literal, call this a false door. Why? Because they're saying, well, it's not actually a door that you can go through. But the thing that's so ridiculous, very clear, it's not a door for someone who is in physical form. It is a spirit door. It speaks to the idea, it speaks to the fundamental African principle that our ancestors can still enter the physical world and interact with us. And it also says something else. So let me just put a period on this. That's the reason why it is better called a spirit door and not a false door. If you want to do research on it, unfortunately, because Europeans are still prevalent in the study of the history of ancient kingdoms, you might have to search false door. This is a spirit door. Something else sitting in front. You'll see that there's some stairs. And then on the stairs, there's something at the front of the stairs. It's also made of stone. And it's chipped away, but guess what that is? Anybody know what that is? What is it referencing? You might be surprised to know that it is a glyph. It is a physical rendition of a glyph because they're trying to say something. Does anyone know what that is?
Well, Kliko has an answer for the first question.
Oh, Kliko. Go ahead, Kliko.
It says Mereruka in Saqqara.
That's the answer. Dwa. That's the answer. This is the tomb of Mereruka. This is the tomb of Mereruka. Dwa Kliko. And in the front of his feet, right in front of him, you will see that this glyph is actually the glyph for Hetep, or you might say Hotep. And you'll notice that, and this is in our incense burner, you'll notice that it has this piece and then something on top of it. The thing that's on top of it is the offering. And so when we say Hetep, it means peace. You could translate it as peace, but peace is something that you receive because you've given someone an offering of yourself.
It was hard for people to see that.
So, is that better?
Closer.
Do you see that it has the glyph here? Okay. This is on our glass incense, stained glass incense burner that we love dearly, from a wonderful artist in the area called Rosline. So I want you, definitely, we say to people who have died, even in the modern world, we say, what about them? R.I.P. What does that stand for? Rest in peace. This comes from the Kemetic idea that an offering puts one at rest. So please give offerings to the ancestors. So Mereruka here, you can see that there's this life-size statue of him, and he is actually coming out of the doorway. Can you see that he's stepping forward with his left foot? He's coming out of the doorway. Why is his hand? One of them is folded like a fist, and the other one is out. Why? By the way, you'll notice that it's the right hand. Come on. I hope you didn't think I was going to just give it all to you. Do some work. Why is his hand open and flat? And why is one curled? Well, you don't have to tell me about the curled one. Tell me about the one that's flat. Why is it there that way? And why is he stepping out that way? What is he doing? This is powerful when you recognize the symbols and read the tradition. What is it? Any answers, Anika? You're going to see his right hand is out. What is he doing? He is doing this, a version of this. What does the right hand do? What does the right hand do? It receives. So it is down like this because the offering that you're supposed to is in front to the world of the living. That which you feed is that which lives. That which you feed is that which lives. Think about the things in your life that you're looking to actually display. And think about the things in your life that you want to bring into, and you keep struggling to bring it into existence. You don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's you're looking for a man or a woman. I don't know if it means you're looking for a better job or you're looking for a better housing, or something for your children and you can't provide it. Feed is that which lives. Are you feeding it? I get excited about this. Are you feeding it? That's the question you have to ask yourself. This is a fundamental principle of life, of existence and of non-existence. So just in the image of how Maruka is standing, he is telling you that if you want me, ancestor, if you want me to be in the world, to feed me. Your tears are not enough. Feed me. And so here we see instructions of any. Pour out the water of libation for your father and mother who rest in the valley of death. The Neteru will bear witness of this just act. This is powerful. This is powerful. Let's go to the next one. Oh, and this is again another image of spirit door. This one is actually the one in the tomb of well, does anyone know what tomb it's in? If you know what tomb that is, you're really good. Because I would think only Anika and I would know that. Because we go there every year. And you're going to see that that glyph is etched in it as well. Because your ancestors were actually saying, make offerings to the ancestors. By the way, if you are in the Kemetic tradition, if you are one who practices African spirituality, if you are one that hears the echo of your ancient mother and father, are you feeding them? Where is your ancestral altar? If you ain't got an ancestral altar, are you a Kamite? Are you?
Did you just call people out?
I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out.
Just show your camera.
If you knew, and they never go to church, they never read the Bible, they don't have any crosses, I don't know, all that being a bit facetious, you would say, is you really a Christian? In fact, if they were actually challenging you on something and they said, well, Jesus said, you'd be like, you ain't never read the Bible. You ain't go to church. There's nothing in your home that designates you as a Christian. Are you a Christian? Well, I'm saying it to you now. If you do not have an answer, are you a Kamite? This is what we do. You can't just be someone who likes Ankhs because you think they look pretty. What do you do as a part of the Kemetic tradition? Spiritual traditions take practice. You have to do something. What do you do? If you don't have your altar, are you part of the Kemetic tradition? I would say no. Slap, slap. Slap, slap. By the way, if you have a table with some images of ancestors on it, and you ain't dusted, you ain't do nothing to it, you ain't put no, that's just a table that looks nice. That's not an altar either. The altar is not actually the physical thing. The altar is the process. Because if you work your altar...
What did you say? Rameses?
Not Rameses. This is Ptahhotep. This is the tomb of Ptahhotep. And this is in the area of Ptahhotep, that great scribe, that great wisdom person who wrote the world's earliest complete book. Let's move. This one's on being truthful. I love this one. Be careful to avoid the mistake of lying. It will prevent you from fighting evil inside yourself. you will not win the battle between Heru and Set. You will not be the shining being if you continue to lie. Be careful to avoid the mistake of lying. This one's really, I like that. I like that. These were written thousands of years ago, but aren't they relevant today? Let's move to the next one. And this one's on caring for those who are in need. Look at this person of African descent, by the way, sitting there while people walk by. Listen to what it says. Do not eat bread without giving some to those near you who do not have anything to eat, since the bread is eternal while man does not last. Ooh. Ooh. This is a deep one. I want you to talk to me about why he says bread is eternal, but man does not last. I'm not going to even say anything about it. I want you to write on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel why you think Annie is saying that bread is, this whole quote here, do not eat bread without giving some to those near you who do not have anything to eat, since the bread is eternal while man does not last. I want you to give me your take on why. What, Jabari's giving homework in Comedic Ascension? You damn right I am. Do the work. Do the work. Anika said, damn. He said, damn. Since bread is eternal while man does not last. Let's move. Coming to an end here because we're over time. Let's move. Oh, here we go. And this is on the importance of developing oneself for eternal rest. Wow. 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 Do not lose yourself in the exterior world to the extent that you neglect the place of your eternal rest. That we must do work in spirit. Amasuan pantar, sulksam ran pantar, ultu aurura, maketi pairura. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Do not lose yourself in the exterior world to the extent that you neglect the place of your eternal rest. I love that one. I love it. You must do the work in spirit. You must cultivate your consciousness. You must do that interior work in order to understand that it is the interior that is really that which is everlasting. And if you get lost, by the way, he didn't say don't ignore the exterior world. He didn't say that, right? He said don't get lost in thinking that the exterior world is the one that's eternal. Because the eternal is that which pervades these physical husks that we call bodies. So do not lose yourself in the exterior world to the extent that you neglect the place of your eternal rest. I love that one. Let's move. I think there are like two more here. This is on controlling your emotions. Everyone can master their own nature if the wisdom which has been taught has made that nature stable. If you're flying off at the handle, if you're always upset, if you allow your emotions to control you, you should actually be learning the great wisdom of the ages, because it will help you to control what you are experiencing and to allow you to be in control of yourself and thereby the world. Listen to that. Everyone can master their own nature. Wisdom which he has been taught has made that nature stable. I love this one. Powerful. Powerful. And then finally, and this is on the importance of hard work and planning. A lazy man never gets around to doing anything. He who knows how to make plans is worthy of consideration. And you might actually wonder why I'm ending on this particular person. Those of you who have actually studied history with me, I teach a course on Kemetic history, I teach a course on African American history. I'm in the midst of my course on African American history. Or if you've read my book, 7 Little White Lies, The Conspiracy to Destroy the Black Self-Image, you know who this person is. Someone in there, tell me who this person is. Let's see if you know his name. Some of you were thinking, wait a minute, I just thought he was an enslaved African, a slave who was whipped badly and had these lacerations on his back. You mean we know his name? Ask yourself, if you don't know his name, why you don't know his name, because I know you know the image. How many of you have seen this image before? In the chat, tell us if you've seen this image before. And if you've seen the image and you know who he is, tell me that as well. I know you've seen it. I know you've seen it. Why don't we know his name? Are people saying they've seen this before?
Not yet. Yeah, Sandra, one of your students, said Gordon.
Oh! Right out front. Because he is an ancestor that actually struggled with the brutality of our enslavement. One of the reasons why we don't know his name, one of the reasons why, even when we've seen this image, we might not have been prodded to know his story, is because when we see this image, we actually recognize the pain. We feel the pain. But if we knew who he was, we would even alter what we know of ourselves, what we think of ourselves, what we understand is our story as the descendants of enslaved Africans. So, Dua to Sandra for telling us who he is. Take a look at this image. This is the same man. This is the same man. And in fact, you should know that that man with those extremely painful whelps on his back was an enslaved African in Louisiana. And he was rebellious. He had tried to escape at least 3 times before this time. But this particular time, he says, what am I going to do to make this escape successful? Do you know, for over the course of weeks, he started stealing onions? Stealing onions. Can you imagine how long it would have taken for him to steal onions in a way that no one would notice that he had stolen onions? Why was he stealing onions? What was he collecting these for? What was his plan? What was he thinking he was going to be able to hatch? Why would he slowly steal onions? Do we have any answers? Well, Gordon was hatching a plan.
So keep away from dogs.
That's right. He was stealing onions for weeks so that when he made his escape, he could rub them on his body to hide his scent from the dogs. Trust me, you know those dogs had his scent because he had run away at least 2 or 3 times earlier. You know that the enslavers knew that this African was going to run again.
Pseudo charlatan says he got freed by joining the Union Army.
That's not the way I would look at it. He didn't get freed by joining the Union Army. He got freed by hatching a plan. But does continue in the Union Army. So, he steals onions over the course of several weeks. He rubs them on his body, and he makes an escape. Mostly running at night and hiding during the day. Understand that this took him 10 days, and yes, enslavers were chasing him with dogs. He travels 40 miles in 10 days. And when he travels further, he gets to the Union line, where the Union Army is. They take both pictures, the one of his back lacerated in such horrific sense, and him sitting here. By the way, look at his face. There's such a nobility and purpose in his face. Does he look like someone that you should consider a victim of enslavement? Or does he look like someone who fought and fought and fought and fought and fought and won? Is that what he looked? Look at his face. I love that image. There is a nobility in his face. This is when he first gets there. By the way, what else do you notice about his escape over 40 miles in 10 days? You see, he doesn't even have any shoes on. Can you imagine walking And after they take this picture and then the picture of his back. Now I want you to understand something. Taking a picture during the late 1800s was difficult, right? It wasn't as easy as it is now. But it wasn't as expensive as the next image I'm going to show you. They actually then made this cut image of him. This was expensive. Why am I talking about the expense? Because in some ways, this image of him in his Union Army uniform is more important than the other pictures. Why don't we know it? Because, see, African, you need to understand that you are of the stock of people who planned, who fought, who met the world's greatest adversity and planned and fought and planned and fought and won. That's what we have to know about this period of enslavement. That's what we have to know. And then after having those horrible wounds on his back, he doesn't say, you know what, that was messed up. I'm glad I'm free. I'm going to go sit down someplace quietly and eat, have a meal. He says, a gun and a Union Army uniform because I'm not free of what? I'm not what? I'm not free of what? I'm not free if you're not free. That's what he does. And he goes back to the same place where he was enslaved and fights several battles. At one point, he even leads a contingent of quote-unquote Negro soldiers, and they free the people who were enslaved on the same plantation he was on and the plantations around it. If you plan and work your plan, you will be free. This is a message that Annie is telling us, and it could have come from the words of this veritable ancestor. Could have come from of this veritable ancestor Gordon, who had a plan and worked his plan. And this is why we should understand that we are capable of it. We've been told the story of our enslavement the wrong way. We've been told it like good white happened. That's not what happened. We fought for our freedom. We planned for our freedom. And that's why we destroyed our chains. I think that Annie is smiling upon Gordon. And I hope they are both smiling upon you as you pour libations to our ancestors. I want to say to you that the instructions of Annie are powerful. And there's so much teaching that you can use today. Please acquire it and read it. Because the words, the ideas, the thoughts, the practice, the rituals, the ceremonies of our ancestors are good for you in 2020. They will allow you to reach your highest height so that the ancestors will smile upon you as you do the work that they have preordained that you must do. With that, I want to say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. Thank you for partaking in the word from the Sebayt. Anika, can we do our final affirmation?
Sure. So thank you so much to everyone who participated today in Kinetic Ascension, giving answers. People were chatting amongst themselves in the chat room. Also, thank you to those of you who made donations. Sen Kliko, thank you so much. Sen Onjay, we received your donations, so we really appreciate it. If there are others who would like to make donations, please send it through Cash App at $Shrine of Maat, or you can send it to our website on PayPal. And it's www.shrineofmaat.org/events. So you can make a donation either way. And we've also set up, if you want to do monthly donations, you can do that as well through our website. As Jabari mentioned, initiation is now open in terms of application process. The actual process of initiation will be in February, around the end of February. So please get your applications in. Those who will be selected will also go through an interview, so please make sure you get it in time so there'll be time to go through your application thoroughly. Okay? Mm-hmm. So at this time, I'd like to offer you the oldest prayer known to man and woman, written in the language of our ancestors, the Medu Neter, called the Amasu. So if you could stand in the pose of adoration and repeat after me. Amasu and Panter.
Amasu and Panter.
Sauksu.
Sauksu.
Emetra.
Emetra.
And Panter.
And Pa Inter.
Autu.
Autu.
Aura.
Aura.
Maketipa.
Maketipa.
Herura.
Herura.
Give yourself to the one most high.
Give yourself to the one most high.
Keep yourself daily for the divine.
Keep yourself daily for the divine.
And do it tomorrow.
And do it tomorrow.
Just as you did it today.
Just as you did it today.
Twa winter.
Twa winter.
Thank you to the divine.
Thank you to the divine.
And thank you to all of you.
And thank you to you. Please enjoy the rest of your beautiful Sunday. And remember, do the work. We're hoping that you're up in your altars. We're hoping that you're doing the opening of the way. We're hoping that you're speaking to those people around you, your mother, your father, even those spiritual people who have assisted you. Double their food. Don't forget Baba Heru. Did he put his Cash App in there?
I put it in there.
Okay, wonderful. Please don't forget our elder, Baba Heru, and over the 50 years that he has given to us. And I want to say, Dwa, Dwa, Dwa. Ankan Maat, Shemamatep. Go forth in peace.